Welcome to Behave Yourself, the podcast that aims to bring the science of human behavior and how you can apply it to your own life and become the happiest, healthiest, and most successful version of you.
We're two behaviour analysts with backgrounds in personal training and nutrition who've struggled in the past with confidence, weight loss, breaking promises to ourselves, and constantly trying the quick fixes.
We bring the science and show you how to apply it confidently and consistently towards your own goals and how to actually create a lifestyle change.
Behaviour analysis is the science of human behaviour, and we all engage in behaviours that either move us towards the direction of our goals or hold us back from living the life we desire.
I'm one of your hosts, Emily McRae.
And I'm your other host, Jo Wesley. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I am very well, thank you. I have been making lots of Christmas treats this morning. I've been candying orange peel and dipping them in dark chocolate. So behaving myself particularly well that I haven't been endlessly snaffling treats and licking the spoon myself, which is something I find really hard, but something I have perfected over the years.
Nice. And that sounds really good. Orange peels and dark chocolate.
Yeah, it's a family favorite.
Send some over. Send some our way.
How have you been behaving yourself?
So I have been, and again, it's very basic, minimal, but continuing to exercise and maintain that movement. And for me, it's not always this high intensity or strength. It's yoga, it's stretching, it's just steps. And again, it's nothing crazy, nothing dramatic, but it's maintaining that level that I want to be at, especially through, although the holidays are busy, keeping that movement going and not getting stagnant and sitting on the couch and watching movies and shows. So,
and having had that huge amount of time off because of your ankle, are you finding that easier or harder? Are you finding it like more joyful because now, yay, I can move? Or
it's interesting. It's this perspective that I sometimes do lose of when I couldn't work out. I take full advantage of the fact that I can do deadlifts again. I'm still very cautious of lunges because it's a single side movement, but deadlifts, I'm very happy to be back to. And Romanian deadlifts, the whole gamut. That's my favorite movement pattern. It's interesting. I used to have these step goals of much higher than where I'm at now. So it's almost like my step goal is a goal of maintaining a lower step count than normal versus trying to hit a higher level. It's like, oh, I did well today. I stayed under 8,000 steps, because that's, if I go over 10,000, I end up kind of considering that my movement for the day because I've done a lot on my feet. Maybe I'll do some like yoga or something to stretch everything out. But yeah, it's an interesting thing that you lose that sight very quickly of wanting to work out when you couldn't, and then when you are able to, not as inclined. But I still thoroughly enjoy leg day back again.
yay.
Yeah.
So today we decided we would talk about the quite commonly heard phrase of, excuse me, is comparison the thief of joy? Which seems to be blasted around on social media a lot of, comparison is the thief of joy. Don't compare yourself. And so I think we both have quite a lot of thoughts.
I think we do too. Lots of thoughts.
So
in both directions, though.
Sorry, say it again.
In both directions of it, though, of like, it can be, but it doesn't have to be. And sometimes it's a good thing that the comparison is a good thing. And then comparison can be a thief of joy as well.
Agreed. So I had a geeky moment trying to dig in behaviourally into behavioural science of what comparison really is. And if there are any of my old professors listening, please turn off now, because I might have got this really wrong, and I'm really sorry if I have, but I've done my best. So also, if you're not a behaviour analyst and you're not interested, please feel free to skip on by, but I'm going to try and make it understandable for everyone. I think we could probably have a whole 30-minute podcast going into exactly how comparison fits within the behavior analytic framework. And I'm not going to do that because I really would bore everyone to sleep. But if you're interested, behavior analysts, in going to look at that, go and look at things like stimulus equivalence and relational frame theory. But a really broad brush explanation would be that comparison is stimulus equivalence within multiple relational frames using multiple contextual cues. Would you agree?
I agree.
Okay.
Yes. And they're different based on those contextual cues. So different, or words can have almost kind of the concept of words can have different meanings, but then we bring that into the behavior of how we take those words in context and act upon them.
Totally. And so from that kind of behavior analytic foundation for how we compare things, from maybe arbitrary relations to non-arbitrary relations, are things bigger than, darker than, heavier than, smaller than, more successful than, less successful than. We use lots of different ways to compare, but these contextual cues, and the more contextual cues there are, the more relatable the stimuli are, the more relatable the people are, say. And we tend to discriminate using quite simple formal properties between the stimuli first, before then refining with more arbitrary and complex relations. So maybe a real example, comparing one glass of water to another glass of water, there are lots of relatable things there. They'd be fairly easy to compare. Whereas relating maybe a glass of water with an espresso martini, they're both drinks. That's a comparison. They would both quench our thirst, maybe. That's a comparison. One may be more delicious than the other. One may be more healthy than the other. One is more calorific than the other. One's more likely to lead to a hell of a good time. One tastes better or tastes worse. One's better for your health. The cost, the size, the color, the distance, COVID friendly, not COVID friendly, all of these different things. And we do the same when we're comparing other people and comparing ourselves. So to start comparing yourself to someone else, I think must mean that there are some base level similarities there. So it would be easier for someone to compare themselves to someone who is more similar to themselves than not. So for example, I could compare myself to Emily. I would say there's quite a lot of similarities between us. She may disagree. I hope I don't offend her. But
I think there's a lot.
Gender and race and background and education and skill set. And I think age, although we've never really talked about our age. We just worked out that we're both 5'7". So our height.
Our birthdays
are both in November. There are a lot of similarities. It's going to be easier for me to compare myself to Emily than it would be for me to say compare myself to Bill Gates, who we're very different people. And so if I was going to compare myself to Emily, what things would about comparing myself to Emily would lead to me losing joy, if comparison is the thief of joy? Is she more successful than me in one area? Yeah, possibly. And does that thieve my joy? Does that make me jealous? Maybe, but is that because there are so many similarities between us? I know that thing is then well within my reach. Probably.
Absolutely.
Have I ever been jealous of Bill Gates' private jet? No. Why not? Probably because there are so many differences. There are so many differences between me and Bill Gates. There aren't enough similarities between us that I would be jealous of that. But getting my own private jet is something very far out of my reach. It's not something that is anywhere close to what I could achieve right now. So what level of importance do we give to each comparison? So I don't know, maybe Bill Gates has 12 pairs of red socks and I only have 3. I give no weight to that comparison. I couldn't care less how many red socks I have. Whereas how many clients does Emily have right now? Maybe I would compare that. Maybe that would be an important thing that I would give a lot of weight to in terms of comparison. Do you want to jump in at any point here?
I'm totally geeking out on all of this. And I'm like, I love this perspective and it's so relatable. And it's funny because I will 100% admit to the fact that there are moments where in a positive way, and this is kind of where we're getting at, is I have compared myself to you, Joe. And it is in part because I know that we are so similar and we have these similar backgrounds and we have these similar goals and daily lives. And it's interesting because I know there's so many differences between us too. And also like where I'm at is where I'm at. But I use that as a motivation, or I'll see a post and because I'm the person that sees details like this, I'll see a post of you and you've got our podcast spreadsheet in the background. And I'm like, ooh, I haven't done any of that today. Okay, Emily, like get on it and get some stuff researched and information inputted. And so it's this, well, Joe's doing more than me. I don't want to not be as doing as much. And so it's this comparison, but it doesn't take away my joy. And that's because I've worked a lot on this side of comparison.
It's like we set this up, but I swear we did. This is amazing because when I put the podcast spreadsheet up on my screen to take a selfie for Instagram, I'm not working on the podcast. I'm trying to hide my clients' data. So you can compare all you like, my darling. I'm not working hard on our podcast at all.
Oh my goodness.
But then that's wonderful, isn't it? Like you can compare yourself to someone thinking that they're doing or having X, Y, or Z, and you've got no idea that that's actually true for them.
Oh my gosh, that was
perfectly
perfect.
set up. Amazing. Yeah. So, and how much weight you give to that thing. So like, it is a fact that you are married to Tom. Am I jealous of the fact that you're married to Tom? No, not at all. I give no weight to that fact. Tom is delightful, but I am obsessed with Jim, and I'm very happy that Jim is my person. Whereas I'm going to be really honest, when we first started podcasting, neither of us are huge in Instagram right now. We have less than 1,000 followers each, but you had about 250 more than me. Did it thieve my joy? No. Did it make me jealous? No. But did it make me go, I'm coming for you? And I don't know if you noticed, but in the last 2 weeks, I'm catching up on you and I've got about 50 to go. So I'm coming for you. And so I didn't let that thieve my joy. I made a comparison. There were a lot of similarities. I could see that I think you had 950-ish at the time, followers. And I could see that that must be within my reach. I had, say, 650 or 700 at the time. Well, if Emily can do it, and I can see the kind of style of posting she does, it's not out of my reach, it's possible, then I can do it. And then I Googled, how do I do that? What can I learn? What are all the things I can do? And I've been working on it for 2 weeks. And now I just got over 900. 49, like 901, 49 more, and I'm coming for you. So I didn't let it thieve my joy. I didn't sit in my kind of on my sofa and mope to myself of, oh, poor me, I wish I had more followers. I let it motivate me. I sat back and thought, right, what am I going to do? That's obviously something that's niggled my conscience of, I want that thing. Now, how am I going to get it? Yeah. So is comparison a thief of joy? I don't think it should be, but I think if you notice it niggle you slightly, you can then identify why is it niggling you? Is it something that you really want? Does it fit within your values? Okay, now go get it and work blimmin' hard to get it. And if you're not willing to work hard, then you can't let it make you jealous either.
Yeah. And I think many people have that comparison game on Instagram of like, well, they have more. And I used to be like, well, why do they have more? And what am I doing, wrong? And it used to be, I wouldn't go and figure out what I needed to do. It was, well, why do they have more? Like I'm posting things, but I didn't understand the ways in which to post. And I didn't care at all about my photo quality for long. And I still am pretty real about it, but I didn't care about the quality of my photo, but it makes a difference. And this will just send my husband into a thing because he doesn't do any social media. And I know your husband doesn't either, but you have to care about the quality of photo. I had him take a photo of me one night and I was like, oh, that is not postable. Like blurry, weird angle, not going to post that. But learning that my posts are going to be relatable to somebody and are not the same as somebody else's Instagram profile. And my profile is not perfectly curated because I'm not perfectly curated. It's not going to be this beautiful page of colors and organization.
No, but you've decided that that's one of your values and that's what your thing is. That's what your style is. That's totally cool.
Yeah.
I think I said recently I was on a acceptance and commitment therapy training, and one of the quotes I heard was one of Steve Hayes's quotes. Steve Hayes is like the godfather, creator of acceptance and commitment therapy, and it's a beautiful saying that is, We hurt where we care, and we care where we hurt. Turn your pain into purpose. So if for you comparison is the thief of joy, it's obviously something you really care about. We'll turn that pain into purpose, make it into something that either you're going to work on the emotions of it to let go of it, or you're going to work on it to make it better and achieve that thing for yourself.
Yeah. The pain into purpose. And it's interesting because Evan Carmichael, who I heard speak at an event in Florida with kind of our friends and our team of people that we are friends with, and he said, turn your pain into purpose. And that was the first time that I figured out why I was doing what I was doing, and actually led me to start coaching. It was the trigger to all of this. And it was, I struggle so much to stay consistent with my goals because I needed this layer of behavior analysis. And that's how I started drawing all of this into my coaching and to how I changed my behaviors, but I struggled to be consistent. And that was my pain. It was so frustrating and painful to me to not be consistent and to constantly lie to myself. And that's where that is my purpose, is to help people be consistent, stop lying to themselves, stop restarting every Monday. But I was comparing myself to my husband, who is the most consistent person on the planet. And it was frustrating. So I turned it into my purpose, helping other people who are not automatically consistent. And I think you said this before the New Year's resolution one of, well, just do it, right? And I would love to just do it. And it is so hard for me. And that's what he says too, is like, we'll just do it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I was the person that could just make a decision and then stick to it forever and ever and ever. And I used to compare to people that could do that. And now I use it as this fuel and this fire to change my own behavior.
I think my just do it comment, I think the mindset behind that was from, I have so many clients say to me, okay, so I'll start with you on Monday, or I'll start with you on the first of the month. And I'm like, there are 105 opportunities between now and that point. Can we just start now? And it frustrates me because I'm sorry to go back to, but a lot of my clients work around weight loss. And if you say to yourself, I'll start tomorrow, you could take in 5,000 calories before tomorrow. And I think because we have this idea that we have 2,000 calories in a day, or we should eat 2,000 calories in a day, people think that what you ate yesterday doesn't matter. But once you realize that it is an average over time, actually you could call that however many thousands per week or per month. It all adds up. So that was where my thought of just start now, because trying to wait for an arbitrary date to start is just silly.
Yeah. And we talked about that a lot.
We're off topic. So
I know. Back to comparison.
Yeah. You mentioned something really interesting there, that you were trying to compare Tom's kind of day 100 to your day 1. And I guess that's an interesting point, isn't it? If you are going to compare yourself and use that as a motivator, to not compare someone else's day 100 or month 100, or even a past version of yourself to now. So often with my clients, they'll say they want to get back to the weight they were when they got married. And I'm like, that was 30 years ago before you had 3 kids. No,